जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि.
Going by the way one believes the body and the soul are one and the same, those born cannot escape death, and those dead cannot escape birth. It is impossible for material bodies to escape the cycle of birth, growth, death, and rebirth, isn't it? Then why lament about such a person? The union of elemental substances is producing bodies. Such union of elemental substances is growing. Those bodies are disintegrating and getting destroyed, which are again transforming into elemental substances, which is what is called death. That elementary substance will never diminish. It will ever keep changing. Sometimes it changes into sand, earthen pot, a tile. Again it changes into sand, plant, animal, man, etc. It could take any form. Taking shape is birth. Transformation of form is death. As this is inescapable even for one who doesn't believe in the existence of God, there is no need to be concerned about death. So says Sri Krishna.
अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना.
Hey Arjuna, you do not know the previous state of man, animal, and birds. How they began, how they were, we do not know. You do not know how they began. Subsequent to their death, what will be the condition of their skin and when, we do not know. You only know their present state, which is the middle state. These changes in their state are not in your control. You cannot stop these bodies from vanishing. Why lament about such material bodies? That is, even if one thinks that the body and soul are the same, presently there is no need to grieve. This is not being on the side of Sri Krishna. It is inappropriate even for an atheist to mourn. That is what Sri Krishna is telling.
आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्.
Soul, the living entity, is elegantly different from all other objects and perceivable sights that we can see. One who is free from all the sins, one who is rich in virtuosity, is the only one who is able to understand the true nature of the soul. The soul continues to appear forever new to him as he continues to probe and see it. He will continue to view it as though he is watching an object of great surprise. All those who view the soul may not be capable of expressing or describing its true state. Only one of those would speak as it is, about the real state and essential nature of the soul, because the words he speaks are about an unusual and extraordinary object. Those words would also spring wonderful surprises. Those words are not desired to be heard by all. It is a fruit of spiritual merit of many previous births that one hears these words about the real state of the soul. how much ever he listens to these words every day, they will continue to amaze him. This way, the soul continues to surprise the one who hath seen it, one who speaks about it, and one who hears about it. Yet, the soul is inscrutable and beyond their knowledge, which means obtaining knowledge about the soul and communicating that knowledge is very difficult to accomplish.
देहे नित्यमवध्योऽयं देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि.
The difference between the divine and human is that all souls within the material bodies are of same form. The bodies may be killed, not the living entities in them. The Bharata hero that you are, Arjuna, not only Bhishma and Drona, you need not mourn about any living being, right from gods to the plant kingdom.
स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्म्याद्ययुद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते.
Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, it is your duty to punish the guilty. It is not a sin to kill some people in this war for protecting dharma. Being a rightful duty, it is a virtuous deed. If you stop such a war, then it is sinful. It is inappropriate if you hesitate to perform your moral duty. This is a fight for justice and protection of dharma, the moral principles.
यदृच्छया चोपपन्नम् स्वर्गद्वारमपावृतम् सुखिनः क्षत्रियाः पार्थ लभन्ते युद्धमीदृशम्.
You haven't desired or sought this war. This war occurred by itself. Man obtains moksha, that is salvation, eternal bliss, by protecting the dharma. As this war is for protection and establishment of dharma, it removes all obstacles for obtaining salvation. Have no doubts. Get into the fight. This war has love and benefits too. This great opportunity is bestowed upon one with great fortune, a fruit of great merit from many previous births. How great that such fortune had come searching for you, Arjuna? When Sri Krishna himself is the protector, can there be any fortune which will not come searching for you?
अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि.
As a Kshatriya, it is appropriate for you to fight the war for dharma and for justice. If you adamantly refuse to fight, you're committing the sin of not protecting the dharma. As a result, you will forfeit the fruits of salvation. This is an aspect of the other higher world. Even while you are in this world, you would lose the fame that you would have attained with victory. It would be a grave mistake if you turn away from this war, Arjuna.
अकीर्तिं च विभूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते.
Arjuna, your words, I do not worry about losing comforts. I do not worry about not attaining glory. These words will be spread by Kauravas. They will say, Arjuna ran away in the beginning of the war. everyone will talk disgracefully about you. An indelible mark of disgrace will be imprinted on your flag of glory. You are held in high esteem, Arjuna. Arjuna, you are a Savyasachi, a hero who can use both hands adeptly. Arjuna, you are held in high esteem by the greatest of great warriors around the world. Carrying such disgrace is similar to death. Besides, such disgrace also causes severe distress. Beware, Arjuna.
भयाद्रणादुपरतं मन्स्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषाञ्च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्.
Arjuna, you are trying to stop the war because of your affection, because of your compassion towards your kinsmen. Great warriors, Duryodhana and Karna, who previously considered you as the greatest of great warriors and a conqueror, are waiting for an opportunity like this. If elders talk disgracefully about you, it is not an offense. But in front of these incompetent people, you may become insignificant. After talking big, once the war is ready, to avoid it, he ran away like a coward. Saying so, they will treat you like one who is scared of rivals. No one cares for your compassionate nature, Arjuna.
अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्.
Your power and strength will be undermined by your rivals with unspeakable words. Arjuna is no match for our courage and valor. His strategies may work elsewhere, but not with us. If cowards start doubting you, don't you feel it is better to die than listen to such words? Tell me, is there anything more disheartening than this, Arjuna?
अतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः.
Kaunteya, son of Kunti, the mother of champions. Arjuna, you are a hero. If you die fighting this war, you will only attain salvation. If you triumph, you will rule the kingdom. Out of these two, you cannot say one is superior and the other inferior. Whatever you encounter in establishing dharma, it will only be beneficial. As a result, that deed will take you closer to attain salvation. Be determined. Get up, Arjuna. Get up and protect dharma.
सुखदुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि.
Everyone should perform their duties. Like I told you till now, you have to prudently perform your duties. Perform your duties with knowledge that material bodies are different from soul. Wise men should understand this fact. You will face obstacles while performing your duties in this manner. When you're fighting, you may be hurt, causing pain. Enemies may die, causing joy. You may gain the kingdom and you may gain your kinsmen. Similarly, one who protects dharma may gain or lose things which may cause ecstasy or agony in such a state. When you embark upon a task, it will always result in either a win or a loss. You should not get elated in times of happiness and dejected with grief. Joy and grief should be accepted with equanimity. The day a duty-minded, shrewd man forges ahead without expecting fruits, he will never be bound by the familial ties. So, Arjuna, with similar equanimity, you too, as a duty, have to prepare for this war.
एषा ते विहिता साङ्ख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि.
It is the responsibility of every human to practice Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is performance of worldly duties. Before performing Karma Yoga, one should possess the knowledge of essential state of the soul. Through the wisdom of an embodied soul, they should understand how to perform their duties with this knowledge, and then the duties they perform become Karma Yoga. This gives us the knowledge of true state of the soul. The knowledge of real state of the soul is what is called Sankhya. Sankhya is final liberation. Understanding how to practice karma with this knowledge is called yoga. Arjuna, till now I have told you about Sankhya. I will now explain the inner yoga of Sankhya. The familial ties are a result of practicing ancient karma. You will be liberated from familial ties if you listen and follow what I am saying.
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्.
What I am telling you now is about the greatness of Karma Yoga. Listen. If occupational and ceremonial karmas are given up midway, they do not bear any fruits. If they are given up due to lack of strength, it is not an offense. Unlike occupational karmas or kamya or material karmas, performed with desire for fruits, are not completed in any way or abandoned midway, it backfires. Backfires with opposite or negative results. It may even result in birth of demons. But Karma Yoga I am telling you now has no such hazards. After commencing the duties, if for some reason you quit midway, it will not go in vain or become fruitless. It is not a crime too. It will not yield negative results. In proportion to the karma fulfilled, it bears fruit. In addition to which, it aids you in overcoming the familial bonds and subsequently saves you.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्.
Hey Arjuna, knowledge related to Karma Yoga is of two types. One is performance of duties with an aim to obtain benefits from occupational and kamya or material karmas. The other one is performing karmas without aspiring for the respective extraneous fruits, to renounce the familial ties and experience the happiness associated with moksha. Of these two karmas, the second one is superior to the first. In the first karma, just the knowledge of the body and soul being different is enough. Performance of karma will accrue benefits. These karmas are infinite, so their fruits, which bestow temporary happiness, are also infinite. The desire for enjoying these benefits also grows manifold, like the branches of a tree. This desire causes the cycle of performance of karma with an aim for its fruits, obtaining the fruits, desire for other pleasures, again performance of duties. It is a recurring cycle. Because the desire is not focused on one fruit, his knowledge also is not focused and is pulled in many directions. He is called avyavasayi, that is fickle-minded. Vyavasayi means firm and focused. A fickle-minded person is not fixed or focused on anything. In the second type of karma yoga, there is certainty of choice. That is, the choice of eternal bliss over the transient body. For that purpose, he has the knowledge to perform his duties with equanimity. While performing this karma, there would be numerous extraneous benefits coming his way, but he will despise them all. Deriding these benefits is also part of practicing karma in attaining moksha, salvation. He does not aspire for fruits out of either occupational or kamya karmas. Kamya karmas meaning material karmas. His one and only desire is to attain moksha. He is very certain about it. That is what is called focused mind on eternal soul. You inculcate it, Arjuna.
यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चितः वेदवादरताः पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः.
Some people will devote themselves to karmas with an aim for their fruits. These people, as I said, have a wavering mind and their mind is not focused. As I told you before, these people are called avyavasayis. These people behave as though they possess great Vedic wisdom. They sing aloud from the pages of the Vedas. Amongst this and the other world, they believe there is no world attainable than heaven where they can enjoy material pleasures. At the outset, these worlds seem pleasant, but do not yield stable results. These men lack knowledge.
कामात्मानः स्वर्गपराः जन्म कर्म फलप्रदां क्रियाविशेषबहुलां भोगैश्वर्यगतिं प्रति.
The minds of people devoted to practice of karmas with an aim for fruits are entangled in worldly and material benefits. They do not aspire for moksha even after they leave their material bodies. For them, the sordid heavenly pleasures are everything. They arduously practice karmas with an aim for fruits, complying to stringent laws. To experience material pleasures deriving out of karma, they will be reborn. To experience the karma, they will be reborn yet again. This way, they will go round and round in the circle of familial bonds. They will ever be aspiring for material pleasures. They will always be intent on gaining those fortunes which provide material pleasures. Their mind will always be dedicated to earning wealth that provides material pleasures.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते.
Veda, apart from talking about the path to attain eternal bliss, also talks about attaining various fruits and ways for people desirous of enjoying mean material pleasures. People wanting eternal bliss need not look this way. But people engaged in karmas of fruits will only highlight these words. There is nothing superior to these. Such people will focus their minds only on these words of the Veda. They will lose the knowledge of eternal soul because of their love for things, enjoyment, pleasures, and wealth. They will never aspire to understand the real state and form of the soul. They will never understand that the practice of Vedic karma is the only way to go for attaining moksha. That is the reason why people desirous of attaining moksha should not associate with karmas of fruits.
त्रैगुण्यविषया वेदाः निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थः निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्.
What is put together for the welfare of entire mankind is Veda. Some people are wise and gentle. These are the people with Sattva Guna. Some are proud and arrogant and very impassionate. These are the people with Rajoguna. And some are ignorant, lazy, and lack true knowledge of things. These are the ones with Tamoguna. Their desires are different. To stop them from becoming atheist and immoral, Veda shows the path to obtain fruits that befit their gunas, that is, sattva, tamo, and rajogunas. Arjuna, you possess sattva guna, the most eminent quality which you have in abundance. The other two qualities, rajo and tamo gunas, as described by the Veda, are the most ordinary qualities. You should not empower these two qualities. You should always suppress them. You should always snub them. When you're suppressing them, you will bodily feel the duality of heat and cold. Endure them. As your endurance grows, Sattva Guna increases. Get purified. Become gentle, amiable, and be steadfast. Be a true Sattvic and be stable. Do not aspire for things other than the eternal soul. You obtain appropriate rewards as fruits. There is no need for you to completely devote yourself to safeguard these fruits. You should always be probing the soul. You should only be engrossed in discourses on such things. Gaining what we don't have is yoga. Protecting what we gain is safety.
यावानर्थबुधपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः.
When the ponds are filled with water, it is used for many purposes. A person who wants to take bath will use it to the extent that is required for bathing. One who is thirsty will only use just the required quantity to quench his thirst. Depending on the need, one will utilize the required part of water from the pond. They will leave the remaining part unconcerned as they do not need it. There are many things in Veda too. Everyone does not need all these things. Have no doubts, Arjuna, like, can I stop this because Veda said it? Understand just the part that you need to. The rest you can leave. You are nicely dedicated to the knowledge of eternal soul, Arjuna. You believe in the Veda and are one with the Supreme Being. That is why accept only that part of the Veda which talks about karmas that help enhance your sattva-guna to obtain eternal bliss. Follow those karmas. You need not bother about the rest, which can be used when needed, like a medicine.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Hey Arjuna, you are seeking final emancipation. I will tell you the primary rule that you need to know as a karma yogi. You should continue to perform occupational, ceremonial and material karmas to the best of your abilities and as prescribed. You are desirous of inculcating sattva guna. Do not aspire for any of the rewards which are known to be fruits of those karmas when you are practicing. You may say, when one is practicing karma, irrespective of whether one aspires for its fruit or not, he cannot escape but enjoy the benefit of those fruits. Not necessarily. These karmas which are binding when aspiring for fruits, when performed without aiming for fruits, or performing karma in the form of my worship are becoming tools for seeking moksha. While performing these karmas, when they reach you by themselves, do not attribute it to yourself like, I am doing. Similarly, when you obtain fruits, do not think, I have obtained the fruit myself, or do not stop performing the karma, saying, why this trouble for me?
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते.
Arjuna, leave the emotional relationship with the kingdom, wealth, friends and relatives. You should not leave them externally. It is your duty to fight the war. Victory or defeat, you have to face it with a stable mind. A state when your mind does not get agitated or confused while performing your fated karma is what is called yoga.
दूरेणप्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाः फलहेतवः.
Dhananjaya, do you know why I am telling repeatedly like this? There are two elements in Karma Yoga. One of them is the karma part, the work that one does, and the second one is the knowledge part, knowledge of not seeking the fruit. Similarly, every karma has the power to give two fruits. One is the primary fruit and the other is secondary fruit that we obtain in the middle. Irrespective of being desirous or not, the secondary fruits are bestowed. Do not mind these secondary fruits. If the primary fruits are aspired for, they will bind you to the family. If you do not desire for fruits, then it will straightaway lead you to the path of moksha, the final emancipation. Therefore, be devoted to the knowledge part while performing the karma, knowledge of not seeking the fruits. Keep your mind balanced and steady. Be equipoised. Be equipoised in thoughts. Poor are those who aspire for fruits of karma and bound by the familial ties. They are fools.
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Karma Yoga. Karma performed without aspirations for its fruits, and yoga are synonymous words which convey the same meaning. As long as the material body exists, we have to perform the prescribed karma. We should not desire the resultant fruits. While doing so, we may encounter favorable or adverse results. Yet, we should mentally be steady and continue to fulfill our responsibilities. This is the meaning of these words. However, the only word that conveys this meaning is yoga. To avoid the misconception of yoga being understood as bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, or ashtanga yoga, yoga is called karma yoga. As per Sri Krishna's intention, the word yoga exclusively means karma yoga. This is a proven fact that this sloka reveals. One who performs the karma with equanimity of mind shall renounce both virtues and vices and engage himself fully in the karma. Arjuna, you too follow such yoga, the yoga called war. It is very difficult for ordinary men to possess such steady mind or become a yogi. Only those who are highly intelligent can attain such a steady mind through compliance with prescribed rules, which is a rarity.
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्.
Wise men who are equipoised do not expect fruits of karma observed in the past. The reason why they are not bound by those karmas. Smell, which is the knowledge derived from the past memory, is fully destroyed. Such wise men are reaching the position of safety, free from danger. That is the abode of moksha, salvation.
यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदम् श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च.
The practice of karma without aiming for the fruit removes the thoughtless belief, material body is my self, that is the soul. The belief that the material body is the soul causes desires. Once the dirt of thoughtlessness is removed, when the mind is equipoised, when the mind becomes steady, the knowledge of essential truth sprouts. You will think of the means and insignificant rewards that you heard of till now. You will repent your efforts for gaining such useless things. You will crave for manifestation of the eternal soul. You will lament for being so late in discovering such a great thing. you will blame yourself for being so.